You're listening to the Empty Nest Empires podcast, episode number 18. Imagine this, if you will, for a minute. You are 36 years old. Now, you always have known that you're different. You've always known that you are not an athlete, that you just can't keep up physically with other kids. Growing up, this has always been a thing. You felt a little bit coddled by your mom. You got married, you had your kids, but you're always tired all the time. And then you come to find out that you need open heart surgery because you have 2 congenital heart defects that need to be repaired. That is part of the story of my guest today, Elizabeth Hughes-Callison. And I'm really happy to introduce you to her today because I think she brings a story of hope, and the way she has turned her pain into purpose now by helping other mothers who are exhausted, maybe not because of a heart defect, but just because of their lifestyle and the way they are constantly just driving and running and just doing all the time to the point of complete exhaustion. She now helps women break out of that cycle and live again. And I'm really happy to introduce you to my guest today. Okay, your nest is empty, or it will be within a few years. So now what? Whether you know it or not, we are building empires. Empires of faith, family, fun, fitness, and of course, finance. And those empires are the legacy we leave for our loved ones. I'm Tammy Romani, an empty nester mom, grandma, and entrepreneur with a vision for ever greater things in the years ahead. It's never too late, and there is no limit to what we can do. I'm so happy you're here. Now let's get to building. My guest today is my friend Elizabeth Hughes-Callison. And, just in the short time I've known her, I just am so impressed by her resilience and her ability to move beyond past hardships and help others now. There's a phrase that they say about having purpose in your life is really exemplified when you turn your pain into purpose. And so I'm excited to have Elizabeth here. I'm not going to introduce her more than that because I want you to hear her story from her own mouth, in her words. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Tammy, so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Could you just start by, now I do want to say that your business is called It's Mother's Turn. And what that means is you teach mothers at all ages, moms, grandmas, young moms, older moms, how to take care of themselves so that they don't have a crisis, a health crisis, which you learned from experience. So can you just kind of take us back to what it was like for you, even as a child, and then moving into being a mom? And your story is so fascinating.
When I was a child, my mom knew that I had something wrong with me, but she couldn't convince doctors that I did.
Oh my.
I didn't have the energy other children did. I couldn't do things. I was real clumsy. My dad used to call me Grace, but but my mom, being a mother and knowing your children so well, knew that there was something that wasn't quite right with me, but she couldn't get doctors to understand. They said she was overprotective. They said I was a shy child. So when I got into my teenage years, we moved over or I was 14 and we moved over to Taiwan. My dad worked for a electronics company, TRW Electronics, and we moved over there, and I had to have a physical and all the shots to go over there. And so my mom, when we went to the doctor in the small town that we were living in at the time said that he heard something not right with my heart. And he wanted me to go to a specialist. And so I was, no, this was the early 70s.
Okay.
And before that, when my mom had taken me to the doctor after one instance that she felt something wasn't right, they'd given me some type of medicine to calm my stomach. I have never known what that was. My mom couldn't remember it either. I always have wondered if it was some type of mild anxiety medicine at that time. For a 10-year-old, I wonder how that affected,
What did it do? Do you remember how it affected you?
I remember it didn't do anything to me.
Okay.
And it didn't help me at all. I still had that nervous feeling and the butterflies and everything. But that was also kind of normal. It was getting to be more normal. So I went to I don't want to draw the story out too long, but I went to a specialist in Indianapolis at that point in time that were a top-rated pediatric cardiologist, and they told my mom and dad that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. I had a slight heart murmur and that it was nothing to worry about. Most people did.
Really?
So, yeah.
Most people.
Most people do. So so we left it at that.
Yeah.
But my mom always knew there was something wrong with me. And it
Mhm.
didn't really start appearing again where I really had problems. Now, I couldn't keep up with kids. I couldn't do some of the sports, and I wasn't athletic, but I thought I just wasn't athletic. And, and if we went on long, long walks, I'd get tired easily. So
Which is
after
not typical for a child.
right, which is not typical for a child. And that's what my mom knew.
Yeah.
She knew that I couldn't keep up with my friends. I couldn't do the things with my friends. So when I got married and were ready to start having children, I had noticed that I had this racing heart. And I could tell, but I'd tell my husband, but I've felt that before. This isn't new. It seems to be more often. And I got pregnant with my son, and I said something to my OB doctor, and he said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with your heart. That's just how it's beating for two now."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, okay, well, this is just how it's supposed to be. By the time we had my daughter, I knew that something wasn't right. And it took me, she was about 5 years old. She was born in 1988, and I was 31. And it wasn't until about the time I turned 35, 36 that I finally convinced the doctor that there was something wrong with me.
Okay, so take me back to what that felt like. Did you always know something was wrong, or did you just think you were different?
Well, yes and no. I knew something was different. I knew that this feeling that I was having in my heart with what I now would call a rapid heartbeat, I knew that it wasn't always there, and it would come and go. And as I was getting older, and then when I got pregnant, it was there more often. And I would kind of get lightheaded and dizzy from it. But at the same time, I was pregnant during that time.
Well, yes, right? Hormones and
Right,
exhaustion. I mean, you're
hormones
making
and-
another human.
Right.
I can't
And
imagine the feeling, though, that you're pushing through. I mean, your whole life was about just pushing through the
right.
exhaustion due
It
to
really
something
was.
wrong and you didn't know what it was.
Right. And there's something wrong. And after my daughter, I thought maybe I was having panic attacks. In the 1990s, early 1990s, that was a pretty major diagnosis for, I think, women.
Yeah.
And they gave me medicine for anxiety. but it didn't
Did
do
you
it.
get that crushing feeling on your chest, almost
Yes.
like a heart attack symptoms, and they
Yes.
called it anxiety?
Yes.
Okay, so fast forward now, you are a young mom and you're
I'm a young
exhausted all the
mom.
time caring for these two little ones. How far apart are your children?
They're 3.5 years apart.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So
Yes.
you've got
And
two kids under 5, and then they start going to school, and you're
they
still
start
just
going to school, and they're
worn
both
out.
active in school
Mhm.
and very, wanting to do things. And I just pushed through. I kept up with it. And I can remember being at church one Wednesday night, and we were standing in a prayer circle, and it was a family night. We had Wednesday family nights when they were younger,
Mhm.
and so the parents had Bible studies, and the kids had their time with the teachers and crafts and things, and learned about the Bible. And I can remember standing next to a friend, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, why?" And she said, "Because I have never heard you breathe so hard."
Oh, okay.
She
So
said, "It
what was
sounds to
happening?
me like you're gasping for breath." And I said, "Well, it's kind of cold outside. I was kind of late getting here. I just came in." No, it was the opening prayer. I made excuses
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those things.
Well, I mean, I remember being a young mom. We never thought about taking care of ourselves, or, I
No,
mean, even going to the doctor if we were sick. We were way too busy caring for kids when they were sick. And,
right.
I can't imagine though, um, having something, well, you know what? I guess if that was your life, if you always were that way, you resign yourself to, well, this is how I am, right?
See, I think that's what I had done.
Yeah,
I didn't want to tell other mothers that I couldn't help out.
right.
I'm Even though I was working full time, I wanted to be present for my kids with
Yeah.
things. But I kept in the back of my mind thinking that I had to convince the doctor that something I
So you
had to
did know
convince.
you
I
needed to
knew that
resolve
some
this. Yeah.
Yes, I knew that something wasn't right. I couldn't explain it to my husband because he had no clue. And finally, when I was about 35 or 36, he finally sent me to have an EKG. And it
Wow.
happened to show up on the EKG.
Had you ever had an EKG before, or had everyone just said, "Oh no, you're fine"?
No, they always said I was fine.
So all those years, you
All
never
those
had an
years,
EKG to
no.
actually look
I
at
think
the
I
patterns of
probably
your
had
heart.
one when I was young and went to the cardiologist, the
Wow.
pediatric cardiologist, and it just didn't show up. My heart would be going in and out of atrial fibrillation.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we could treat that. That's fine, And they calmed me down, and they told me, because I thought that was a death sentence. I didn't know what atrial fibrillation was, and now it's people know that
Yeah.
term more.
Right.
So they gave me medicine, and it seemed to help, but then then all at once it wasn't helping.
Hmm. Okay, so you got to a point of crisis, though, am I
Yes,
right?
I got to
So
a point of
you had
crisis.
gone so long without caring for this illness that you
Right.
had, or
And
this condition.
I wasn't taking any time for myself. I
Mhm.
was just pushing on through. And just because I thought it was all in my head.
Well, you'd
I
been
really
told
did.
that for many years.
And basically, that's what I had
Wow.
been told for many
Yeah.
years. That it was all in my head. So back in the early 90s to the mid 90s, there was nothing. So there was so
Even
few.
then.
There was just not much you could read. I remember reading books by Dr. Nancy Snyderman. I remember reading different books by women doctors, but still didn't address what I seem to be feeling. They finally sent me over to the Heart Center in Springfield, Illinois, because we live in Illinois. And that was when the doctor over there was not going to let me go until he figured it out. I had 2 congenital heart defects.
2 congenital heart
Two.
defects.
Uh-huh. So I
Were you
was
so
bored with
relieved,
this.
actually, to know
I
that you weren't
actually
crazy?
was so relieved. I
I
was
mean,
so
that's a
relieved.
terrible thing to say, that you're relieved with a diagnosis, but sometimes knowing is
Knowing,
better
yes.
because you can deal with it then.
Yes, because then I said, then it was like, then we deal with it. And I had to have open heart surgery to fix it. And I was to the point where it was almost too late for me to have open heart surgery. That was the only thing that
What do you
scared me.
mean? Your heart, it had degraded so much?
Yes, it had degraded. But he felt that I still had like a 75% chance of
Wow.
surviving the surgery and having no problems whatsoever after that. And he wanted to keep me at the hospital that day. And I told him no, that I had to go home because I had to see my kids. It was a Friday. And I said I needed to go home. I needed to see my kids and be with them for the weekend. And I'd come back on Monday. And I promised that I'd come back on Monday.
Open heart surgery is not a small thing. And
No,
were
it's
you
not a
feeling
small
a little
thing.
bit overwhelmed at that point? Like,
Right.
oh boy. You know, how old were your kids at that point?
It was 1999, so I think my daughter was still in elementary school and my son had just started junior high.
Wow. So still young
So
enough to need you very
they're
much.
still young enough,
Were they
right?
quite nervous about you
They
going?
were very nervous. They were extremely nervous.
Yeah.
And then they kept me in the hospital for 13 days
Okay. Wow.
afterwards because the atrial fibrillation got worse after and they
Now,
were
what exactly
discovering
did
that
they repair in your heart?
they repaired. I had a hole in my heart,
You had a hole
which
all that time.
yeah, all that time, which most, which is kind of common. And
Wow.
sometimes they don't have to repair it. And that wasn't the big issue. The big issue was that I had a vein that was wrapped around to the back of my heart, and it was attached to the wrong chamber, and so it was putting blood into the wrong chamber of my heart. That was the most serious part, and that was what was making my heart
Wow.
really
That
enlarged
is
and not.
okay.
And
So
so,
now, wow. Okay. So I'm a little bit overwhelmed by your story. You know, this is February and it
so
is Women's Heart Health Month. So it's, as a matter of
yes, it's
fact,
Women's Heart Month.
the day that this airs is February 7th, which is Go Red for Women Day, which is all about women's heart health. I'm sorry I didn't wear red in the video if you're watching that today. But Elizabeth, what would you say now that we have the technology? I know they
Yes,
repair
now
these
that we
kind of
have the
things in
technology.
infants and young children. But I want to take a turn now because your life really is a miracle. I mean, you were preserved all those years. You could have had a massive heart attack at any moment.
Right, and I could have had a stroke also. I mean, they did put me on blood thinners, but I could
Mhm.
have, but for years I wasn't on blood thinners. And the atrial fibrillation causes stroke. And,
Yes.
and so, I mean, so this was all, I knew my life had to change, but I didn't know how to change it.
Right. So
I
even
really,
after your surgery, did you try and just power right through and continue not
I
taking
did.
care of yourself?
I hated to tell people I can't do that. I have a heart condition. That didn't sound right to me
Yeah.
because
Well,
I'd
you
always
know,
shown
I
up.
mean, that's not a small surgery. Did people at least, or did you, I should say, allow yourself time to heal from the actual surgery?
I did to an extent, but I look back now and realize I didn't allow
You
myself
didn't.
to heal.
So now I want to kind of turn the corner here and talk about what you do now, which is called It's
Right.
Mother's Turn. You never gave yourself a turn
No, I never
to
gave myself.
relax or to let your guard down or to rest or anything. And for you, it really culminated in a crisis Now,
It did.
not everyone
And
has a heart issue, but what does that look like for women today?
I think that looks like if you, I feel that if you as a woman feel like there's something wrong, that something just seems out of place, that you go to your doctor,
Yeah.
and that you keep on with your doctor. And in the end, I had a very good doctor. I realized, because he did keep on until he figured out
Yeah.
what. But that's not easy to come. And I
No,
don't
and
change doctors
putting
easy.
yourself first is a hard pill to swallow
It's
for
a
moms
hard,
because we just
it's
don't do
hard.
it.
No, it is
Um,
very hard. We take care of everyone else. I wanted to be there for my husband. I wanted to be there for my kids. But they finally told me when I turned 50, that it was now for me to be there for me.
okay, so it's your turn now, right?
Told me it was my turn.
Phew, now you can exhale.
Then I was
But
like, okay, now I had to find what that meant.
okay. So then that started you on a journey to figuring
Right,
that out. What did
to
that
figure
look like
that
for you?
out. That was a hard journey. The internet was just becoming where it was user friendly for everyone. There wasn't smartphones yet. And I mean, we had cell phones and we had texting, but we didn't have, the internet wasn't like it was now. And but I started on the computer. I started typing in how self-care, how to take care of yourself. And I finally had some other health issues, because this has caused other health issues
Hmm.
that have just come up, and part of it's caused by the open heart surgery, plus just for so long me
Like
going,
everything kind of building on
yes,
top of each
just
other.
building on top of each other. And I finally decided it was time to quit my job. I know that's not an option
Yeah,
I know that's really not an option for most mothers.
right, right.
But I was at a place where I could. We had to make some changes. My kids were pretty much out of the nest, not completely, but getting ready to be out of the nest. And we decided that it was time for me to quit my job. And
Okay.
I just did research, trying to find out, how did I take care of myself.
Wow.
I now have progressed enough to realizing that I needed to have a nighttime routine
Okay.
um, that was specific. So when I talk to women about taking care of themselves, I don't mean going and having a day at the spa. That's expensive.
Okay.
Going and having a massage, or going away for a girls' weekend, although those are wonderful things, but not everyone can do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just find 5 to 10 minutes a day where you take time for you. So one of my big things that I noticed was I didn't have a regular sleep routine, and I needed to have a good sleep routine. Of course, at one point I had teenagers that I worried about because they were out.
Oh yeah.
And everyone goes through that. So I have a specific routine as to how I shut down,
Mm-hmm.
start shutting my system down and just relax for me at night, and then trying to get a good night's sleep, as much sleep as I need. And I probably need more sleep than some people do. I also started exercising. Now, I had never been able to really exercise. I'd always tried, but I'd never been able
Yeah.
to. So you can imagine I was not physically in any shape to start exercise.
Right.
So I do a lot of yoga.
Okay.
And I don't go outside my home. I don't go to a fitness center, like to the Y or anything like that. I'm not good at making that type of commitment, yet I'm very good at watching YouTube videos and doing it at home.
Well, that's the beauty of this technology that we live with now,
Yes,
is everything is more accessible.
right. It's more accessible. I started having a specific time during the day when I meditate and do my prayers.
Hmm.
And I have some guided meditations that I follow, and I just have my quiet time. But I think probably the most beneficial part that I've had, that I found to do, is that I wake up every morning, and I've had people tell me that that's too hard to achieve what I do in the morning. But I tell myself it's going to be a good day, and I'm going to wake up and have happiness every day.
Yeah.
And then I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for.
Oh, wow.
And that
That
can be a
I keep
struggle.
hearing that gratitude practice is life changing. And even people who are, I have a friend who has a kind of an online talk show where she has interviewed just wildly successful people. And I mean, really, really big successful people. It's called The Pursuit with Kelsey Humphreys, if any of you want to look that up. But she told me one time that the biggest surprise that she found, or that kind of hit her, was that the common thread through all of these successful people was that every day they wrote down 3 to 5 things they're grateful for. Even if it was something like, I saw a cute puppy yesterday, or I heard the birds sing this morning. Little
Right.
things that we take for granted, you write them down, and it just infuses into your being this attitude of being grateful for life. And I imagine you're a little bit more grateful than most
I'm
because of your
extremely,
triumph.
I'm
Yeah, right?
extremely grateful. But it took me a while to realize that I could be grateful, yes, but I
Mm-hmm.
had to practice
You
that
had to
grace.
practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at what the women who come to you for help, what are they facing?
A lot of times a lot of them have like school age children, and
Okay.
in the hustle and bustle, how to find time. And I said, what I finally had to do with my kids, and this was when they were old enough to know, to understand and know, but they weren't old enough to tell mom, you've got to do it for yourself, or
Mhm.
anything. I tell my kids, when I came home from work, you need to give me 10 minutes. I'm going to go into the bedroom. I'm going to change my clothes, and I'm going to have just some time just for me. And then when I come out, then it's family time.
Hmm.
And my husband
So
has always
smart.
worked a government job. And so he was always home before I was. And so he'd already had their time they'd had their time with dad, and they were all kind of settled down, and then mom would come home, they were, excited to see me. Now, I won't say it worked every day,
Right.
but it
So is that the
became a
first thing?
practice. That's the first thing I
Yeah.
did.
So
That
is
was
that the
really
first
the
thing
first
that
thing.
you tell moms to do? Are they
That is the
surprised?
first thing
Are they
I say.
surprised that, ooh, 10 minutes? Are you kidding? I can go in my bedroom for 10 minutes? Is that
And yes, you
okay?
can. I mean, if you have a newborn baby or if you have a little
Well, yeah.
toddler and there's no one to watch, no, you can't. But when your kids get to school age, yes, you can
Hmm.
tell them, mommy needs, or mom needs 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you have to, if nothing else, sit during those 10 minutes and just write out your thoughts. And you'll
Hmm.
be amazed at
Wow.
what might come out on the paper. And it may calm it. And I found that it calms me enough and everything's out of my head, then I can think about something now my kids are gone and I still do these practices.
Yeah. So really what you're teaching women to do is to set up practices that they can continue to carry on to have some peace in their lives,
Right.
even after their kids leave the nest,
Leave the
right?
nest,
But
right.
it's so important to not be suddenly hit with that when they're
Yes.
gone, that, what do
Oh,
I do now? I've
what do I
poured
do
my
now?
soul into these kids, but
Right.
you're kind of teaching yourself that it's okay
It's
to do
okay. It's
certain
okay
things
to
for
have
yourself.
some, yes. And I think that that was the biggest thing I've learned through all of this,
Yeah.
was that I I don't think I would have gone through them leaving the house as easily as I did if I hadn't had this health crisis and had to figure out what
Yeah.
I don't think I would, but I became where I have journals and journals and notebooks, filled with things. And it can sometimes almost break my heart to go back and read some of the things I wrote,
Oh, really?
um, as to how I was feeling and how, you know, but it's also good therapeutically for me to
Yeah.
realize because I've come so far.
To see how far you've come is very helpful. Um,
Right.
so you've got these moms who come to you. How exactly do you help them? Do you just teach them these baby steps that might seem so overwhelming at first?
Yes, I
Wow.
just teach them. I have different workshops to teach them, a self-care workshop where for a week I ask them to take 5 to 10 minutes and I give them an exercise each day.
Isn't
And then
that
I check
funny
back
how we
to
won't
them.
even give ourselves 5 to 10 minutes?
Yes,
When you think about
we,
it,
you think about it. And I've had mothers say to me, I'm just amazed that how much better I felt after I had my 5 minutes.
yeah, that
You know,
the thought that 5 or 10 minutes can actually change your life is
yes. And
mind-boggling to me. And I think that's why so many don't do it. Because I know when I was in the busy times of kids raising, and even in when the high school and everything, and you're working and you're doing all these things, the thought of, oh, I really need time to myself, but I need an hour. So I don't have an hour. So I'm
right.
not
And
going
I
to do
think
it.
that I
But if I ever had that thought, I could just go somewhere and sit in quiet or with music or something for 10 minutes.
mhm,
Everyone's got 10 minutes, but
right,
I always thought I needed more. And so therefore I get nothing.
right. And I did that for so long. I always thought that I needed to leave the house
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to go have my nails done
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Yeah.
that would
Self-care. That's what
no.
we see as
That's
self-care,
what
right?
we saw as
Yeah.
self-care.
Uh-huh.
Women still see that as self-care.
Yeah.
No, that's not those are the rewards that maybe you can get. But to be honest with you, most mothers can't afford that long a time,
Yeah.
can't afford maybe that amount of money, but small bite-sized pieces
Yeah.
that just keep them in a quiet place.
Mm.
And I came up and it when it really dawned on me and realized that this was what I needed to do, just these
Mm.
small pieces, it was like, duh,
Yeah.
you know?
When you teach what you know, you're coming from a place of real, authentic experience, and your heart is in it. And
Yes,
you're a mentor to these young moms
right. And
because you've
that's
been there.
and just felt like this, and I had always had a passion that I wanted to write, that I wanted to write a book or something.
Okay.
And then the internet came and people were doing blogging, and I thought, oh, there's got to be something. I can do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you
that's how I
start with a
came up.
blog?
Yes, that's what I
Oh,
started with,
wow.
completely with a blog.
That's wonderful.
And
Okay, so do you still have that blog where people
yes,
can
and
refer
it's
to?
called It's Mother's Turn, and it's just
Okay.
expanded. It expanded as just me writing
Yeah.
about
So
my
you started
journey,
out with just giving tips, and
just
then
giving
so
tips.
is it
And
it's mothersturn.com?
yes, it's
It's
Mother's Turned On.
mothersturn.com. And
So,
then that expanded to workshops, and now you have an online business where you
right,
mentor moms
mentor moms.
and of all stages that
Yes, of all
are
stages.
worn
Because,
out and need to learn the simple things. And you know what's funny is we can read about these things all day, but
right,
until we have a mentor like you actually speaking into our lives, you can do this.
right,
It's important. Do this before you have a health crisis like I did.
right,
You know, they may not have a heart issue, but my goodness, think
right.
of all the
But,
strokes
and
that
they,
happen, the just anxiety attacks, stress attacks, various things that
right.
can manifest in your body from just simply not giving yourself room to breathe.
I know one mother who she is a personal trainer that I know. And, exercise and diet is her big thing. So you would just think she would be in a perfect place. I
Yeah,
mean, I would have thought that
right,
until
right.
you really get to know her and find out the anxiety of raising boys that she has.
Yeah,
And now they've become teenage boys.
yeah. And they eat
So,
a lot.
and you know, you would look at her and think, oh, things are perfect,
Hmm.
but they're not always.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not
Well,
always.
we are not what we put out on Instagram. We
No,
are
we
real
are
life
not.
underneath that.
No.
And
Yes.
what I love about you is that you talk about all of this. And, that's
It
the
took
real
me
deal.
it took me, Tammy, a long time to decide to talk about it
I'll bet it did.
because
Yeah.
I felt like it was going to be a stigma.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Now, explain that to me. Because over the years you'd gotten reactions from people, or you actually held back always from talking about this because you felt you'd be judged for it or
I think
felt
I
sorry
always
for it.
held
Is that what
back.
you're talking about?
Uh-huh. I think I always held back
Mm-hmm.
because I think I would hear my mom say to my dad from a very young age, well, they told me I was overprotective about with her again. And I heard that as my mom's just really protective of me. That was how
Right.
I took that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would hold back on how maybe I was feeling, what was going on. My mom always knew. My mom always knew if something wasn't right. And I can tell you that she was the happiest person when they finally
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine
found
all those years of
all of those
knowing
years.
your child had something and being told even by medical professionals, oh, it's nothing,
It's
it's
nothing.
everyone's like this? No,
Right.
you only have to look
Yes.
at the kid next door to know that everyone is not like this.
Right. Uh-huh.
There's something going on. That really teaches you that even in the 90s where you had some trouble
Right.
getting
Right.
diagnosed, that we have to be our own advocate.
We
And
have
it
to be
sounds
our
like your
own
mom was
advocates.
an advocate for you, but there just wasn't the technology and there wasn't even the knowledge
The
back in
knowledge that
those
they
days to
right
really
back
do
then.
something.
And I know
Wow.
that she would just insist. If I talked to her on the phone after I had kids, and she
Hmm.
would just insist sometimes that I
Get
make an
checked in.
appointment and go to the doctor.
Now that you know the heart of a mother, can you just
Yes.
imagine how she worried about you
Oh, I can.
constantly?
And we were living over in Taiwan when it was time for me to go to college. And they stayed over there and I moved back to the States. And I think about how hard that must have been for her
Yeah.
to let me go. I remember she and my dad setting, go, or she came back with me to move me back to college. and they set me up with a doctor. They had recommendations from people where I was going to college, and I was in an area where there was some family, not real close family, but cousins and some aunts and uncles. And so they found a doctor for me, and I remember her talking to that doctor. I remember her telling everything about me to that doctor, and him just sitting there and nodding and nodding. And I had to go see that doctor every 6 months. And I thought, oh, Mom, you were just out of your mind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Wow. Wow.
But I
Yeah.
think it was
Taiwan is a long way from Chicago.
right,
or Illinois.
right, a long way.
Wow.
And I think that now, how hard that must have been.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we think just being an empty nester is hard. Think about
Right.
empty nesting,
With her being that far
a world
away.
away,
Yeah.
really, from the other side of the world.
You
Wow.
can't get to your child if she really
No.
needs you, So
Yeah.
yes. And I think about that now, and it can bring tears to my eyes when I think about all that my mother did for me to try to convince people. But she taught me also. I mean, that was a valuable lesson that you don't give up.
Right. She never gave up on getting
She
you a
never gave up
diagnosis,
on me.
even into adulthood.
Right.
And
She never
after
did.
having kids.
And I remember when she was very sick, and I spent her last month with her. She got concerned about me, told me I needed to go home because I hadn't seen my doctor in a while.
Oh.
She really had no concept of time. She just knew that I'd been there a while.
Yeah.
I'm
glad you got that time with her.
Yeah,
her life.
I was able
really
to have
special.
that time, and I was very blessed to be able to have it. But so that's my story. And
wow.
Yes, I just feel like mothers need to understand that, because I think it's more prevalent now. The self-care is, and younger generation talks about it.
Yeah.
But I have people come to me that are raising their grandchildren now.
Oh boy. Yes.
And that's an extremely difficult thing.
Yeah. So you really minister in your business. I mean, there's no other way to say it, because you're really speaking into moms of all ages. Who kind of have kids in that those really busy years. But you're right. Nowadays, there are so many grandparents raising their grandkids for various reasons that usually adds more stress to it.
Right.
Or they've got entire families living in their home with them.
Right. They have entire families, and they didn't learn it when they raised their own kids.
No.
And they still don't.
When I think back on all the things I wasn't taught about in terms of this, caring for yourself, I can't even think. I mean, I suppose my mom did things. I know that when her door was closed, she was like in her room praying, which was a time alone with God. And I know that she would go on a walk, or but I don't remember. There was never a conversation.
Right.
She kind of did what she needed to do. We were pretty independent kids, so I don't really know what she did most of the time, But there was never any talk about, you have to learn how to take care of yourself.
No.
Never. No, that wasn't a concept.
Was.
I mean, she grew up in the Depression and was a young married person during World War II. She came to Los Angeles from Oregon at like 21 years old, just fierce, get it done kind of a person. And that's all I saw. So I was the same way. Power through everything, just get it done.
She just powered. My mom was raised during the Depression, and then she was married during World War II. And yes, she was the same thing. You didn't talk about it, you just powered through it.
Yeah. So that brings up the question, are we soft? Are we too soft now?
I don't know. I
I don't
know.
want to say that because I mean, we live, I mean, our parents grew up where they did, they watched the rise of technology and all the things like even a vacuum cleaner and
Right.
inventions that, a washing
Right.
machine and a vacuum cleaner, that all these inventions, that technology that slowly made life easier. Now we have these ridiculous technology that makes life easier, but we don't understand. Like, I think what my parents understood was life is in cycles, and they would rest in the evening, when it
Yes,
was
they
time.
would rest.
They didn't have all the entertainment options and the things that we're constantly stimulated by. So they didn't have to think about self-care because it was just part of their normal rhythm of life,
Right. And
right?
I agree. I agree with that. Their self-care was all mixed in with their life.
Yeah, it was just part of life that you took time to read a book,
Uh-huh. To read a book,
you know?
to rest in the evenings.
hmm
No one thought about
My
it.
mom
That's
would take a
why,
nap on Sunday afternoons.
yes.
That was her Sabbath, that was just part of her rhythm of
Yes.
life. And
Uh-huh.
I don't never thought about that as being necessary until, now it's like, oh yeah, you probably should have a day a week where you just kind of shut everything out and
Right.
let yourself regroup. But we're
And
constantly on
I
the
think
go.
that's why I realized that I had to develop a nighttime routine for myself
Mm-hmm.
because we don't shut ourselves off from
Yeah.
all of this constant. We can just have technology coming
Yeah.
at us constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go right to sleep if you just have all that stimulation.
Right. Right. Well, I thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm so happy to hear the rest of your story, more than just the bits and pieces I've been able to pick up here and there. I can't imagine living with that kind of a cloud over your head for so long. And then finally realizing that you could in fact do something about it that would save your
Right,
life and give you
right.
a longer life and a fuller life. And I'm just so thrilled that now you can do all these things, that you're doing all the heart healthy things to
Yes,
preserve now, what you've got, that you've had the surgery, that you're doing the exercising and the eating and all the things, and that now you're pouring into women who also need to learn these things. I just think
yes.
when you turn your pain into purpose like that, it's just got to be blessed, because uh, I
Well,
just want to speak blessing over that for you.
when I realized that that was what I wanted to write about for a blog,
Uh-huh.
and it just was like it was just there pulling at me. It was just,
Yeah.
it really was God telling me this is what
Yeah.
this is now what I want you to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Your story can
Yeah,
rescue other
right,
people.
right.
Yeah.
Help other people. So
Oh, wow. I'm just amazed, and I can't wait to hear more from you about, the women that you're getting to work with, and how your business is going to grow, and your workshops, and maybe you're going to have a live event soon where, there's so much potential there with,
yes,
because
I hope to
so
have a
many
live
women.
event either in April or May.
Oh,
So
this year.
yeah,
Okay,
this year.
well,
That's what I'm
definitely
hoping
get on
for. So
Elizabeth's mailing list, email list, and make sure you connect with her on Instagram. It's Mother's Turn, and take a look at her blog at itsmothersturn.com. I will definitely post the links in the show notes below this episode. And you know what? It's February. It's the 1 month of the year that we talk about women's heart health.
right.
So go have a heart healthy month. Do even small things add up over time. And that's the biggest lesson I learned, because I'm usually an all or nothing kind of person. The whole thing, like your example of learning first how to get to sleep better, and then exercising, and that, how you just layered things on makes
Right.
so much sense.
Right.
And it takes the pressure off, and it's okay to go
It
slow.
is
It's
okay.
okay to make small changes that actually then become part of your daily habits, so that you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just natural to take care of yourself, so that what do they say? You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right. You can't pour
Yeah.
from an empty cup, so that you have a
You're
full
going to be
cup.
even better for your family if you
Right.
can do these
More
small
intentional
things.
for your family and
Yeah.
just be there.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. I
Thank
really
you,
appreciate you
Tammy.
being with me here today. And I want you all to connect with Elizabeth and just see what she's got to offer. If you don't need her, I know you know someone who does, right?
Thank you, Tammy.
I'm so glad that you joined us today for this discussion and just to hear Elizabeth's story. It's really, really remarkable how she was spared all those years, isn't it? Her life is truly a miracle, and I know she's going to help so many others. I want to leave you with a few heart facts, if you will, especially for women, because I think this is so important for us to know. You know, we're always afraid of cancer or various diseases that can befall us, and we have all these things. But did you know that cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women? For every 3 deaths in the year, one of them is due to a heart condition. That's approximately 1 woman every minute. And the incredible thing about this is that it doesn't affect all women alike. You've heard that just from Elizabeth's story today. Her situation was she had a lifelong heart defect that was undetected, or it was suspected, and no one could ever really, either they didn't believe her or they didn't have the technology to figure it out until she got to be into her mid-30s and really was so exhausted all the time, finally had that heart surgery, and it completely turned her life around. I just can't say enough about really educating yourself about this. Get yourself to a doctor for a checkup. Understand if you've got anything wrong, if you suspect being overly tired. First, get your heart checked out, and then, take a look at your diet, your exercise, your lifestyle. Are you sleeping enough? All those things that we know we should be doing. I think what we don't realize is that the compound effects of not taking care of ourselves can be really serious. So while we as mothers are so concerned with just doing for our family all the time, we might be doing ourselves to death, really. And I hate to put it that way, but that is a reality check. So if this has been a reality check for you, go ahead and check out goredforwomen.org or heart.org and see the information that's there and just begin to educate yourself about this. And I just want to thank Elizabeth for being with me today. She's a member of my Empire Builders VIP group, where we have a mastermind. We are a group of individuals who get together every month. We mastermind our ideas. We have training. We have guest experts come in. And, if that's something that interests you, I think I'm going to open the doors to that again real soon. So why don't you reach out to me? Go to tammyromani.com/empty-nest, and I'll make sure to give you an email about that when the time comes. If you are looking for a mastermind type of a group where we have just a group of mostly empty nesters who are in digital business or have a in-person business, and you want to know about how to better market yourself in this age of online marketing that we all have to do, or you really can't be in business anymore, I invite you to get some more information. DM me on Instagram if you'd like more information, or if you'd like to chat about it to see if it's right for you. And we'll just see if we can't help each other out. It's no good being alone in this online business world. More minds put together in a mastermind, always a good idea. So I would love to see you in there. And like I said, just reach out to me for more information. And, while we're talking about all the promotional things, would you mind hopping over to wherever you listen to this podcast and give us a 5-star review? That actually helps this podcast to be discovered by more listeners. So That would make me so happy. It will make others so happy. And as I bring more experts to you, more guests to you in the future, more amazing stories, I just want more people to hear about us. So thank you so much for that. And I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have a fabulous weekend. I hope you're wearing red today for Women's Heart Health. And I will see you next time. You take care. Bye-bye.